Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Activities for People Living at Home with Dementia. We are proud to offer this series with funding from the Area Agency on Aging and the United Way of Tarrant County. These programs are recorded and are made available for viewing through a YouTube channel for future use. I am Martha Brown, your host for today. We are presenting today coats and other accoutrements from the Fort Worth Museum of Science and History. Do you like that word, Caleb? Accoutrement?
I like that word.
That's my college word for today.
It's our word for today, and I promise I won't put it on Jeopardy. Caleb and Lee, take it away.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
It's good to see you.
Good morning.
So we have Rebecca working the camera, and we also wanted to take the time to introduce you to Kirsty Pressman, who's also part of the history collection. This is her first time sitting in on the program, but we wanted so you can get to know her, and she'll be helping us just kind of move things around throughout the program.
Women's clothes are big.
Women's clothes are big. And so basically what we did was we talked about coats, and I think we'll probably do, well, we can do coats. I mean, we brought a cape, but because the last few times we have focused on men's clothing and children's clothing, we wanted to focus on women's clothing this go around. And so to figure out which ones we wanted to choose, we started really with the early 1900s and we'll finish with the 1970s. And so again, we're just kind of cherry picking some of our better pieces that obviously could be boxed and traveled and then put on display here. But I love talking about the sewing, the fabric. We'll talk about those trends and why they're changing. And hopefully, and then of course we brought shoes too. So again, we're talking about women's clothing and maybe coats next year. Yes, we like shoes.
Okay. Well, we'll put on our antlers. We're up for anything. We're game.
I know y'all always are. You always roll with it too. Doesn't, we just bring things, but it is a good, how would you say it? Just a good time for us as far as the things that we
actually
come
being
across.
able to bring out that we might not normally get to.
Yeah.
And so we can start with this beautiful piece because I stumbled upon it looking for items. We actually have a wool cape here, circa early 1900, maybe late 1800s, early 1900s, and it's a wool blend. It's actually very heavy. And to me, it's still in great condition. Just a little bit of that lining, that satin lining is starting to fray. And of course, it's going to fray a little bit around the collar, but there's no holes in this piece. It's still in very good, nothing is threadbare along the edges, minus that lining right there. But I love this color, it's a gold. But what's striking about this piece, and I'm sure you've noticed, is all of this detailed work, this motif. Are any of y'all familiar with it? Have you seen it before?
No,
I didn't know what it was. And so when it comes to this one is known, we've had differences in pronunciation, but we call it either Soutache or Soutache. And it's a French term, but it's a type of braiding. And I don't know if maybe we can hone in on it. Can we zoom in on some of it? Because it doesn't look like braids until you get super close. But it means Russian braid in French. Soutache. I think it is Soutache, but Caleb thinks it's Soutache.
I think it depends on where you're from in the world.
Okay, that's nice. All right.
That's, I think, as zoomed in as we can get.
Perfect. So do y'all see that?
Go.
So we're thinking little braids, and then it's an applique. So it's not sewn in the garment, it's sewn on the outside of the garment. And so they would have crafted the design and then had to go in and make little bitty stitches to keep it in place. So when we flip it, you can see where they've gone in.
Really pretty too.
Isn't that beautiful? Even the inside, it's gorgeous.
As someone who just sewed a whole bunch of patches onto my daughter's Girl Scout vest this weekend, my inside of my garment does not look that nice.
You're such a good mom. But you can tell just some really great work has gone in here, and obviously time consuming because you have to create the braiding first and then go and map out your design for it. And I think this is a lovely piece, and I'm glad I stumbled upon it. So I was like, I've got to pull this. I have to bring it. I have to show them. And then the collar, we've got a nice scalloped collar here. We're going to zoom back out.
We're glad you did.
Thank you.
All the way out, or do you want me to
That's
zoom
fine. So we see this nice scallop right here.
Whoever wore this was upper class, right?
I mean, I would imagine so. We do not have any idea of who wore it as far as the donor or anything like that. But I would agree with that because this applique is also on the back too. So it is,
Fancy.
it's fancy. I don't think they make this like I don't think they make things like they used to.
No.
But then I also know that I'm not going to braid these pieces to put on a cape. So I feel like that's fair enough with that one. Any questions?
Labor
We're gonna-
intensive and beautiful.
We're going to see this braiding process again in one of our dresses, because now you'll always recognize it. Now you'll know that is soutache, that's braiding work as far as applique. You'll never unsee it now. Oh,
How old did you say it is?
late 1800s to early 1900s.
Okay.
It's just a nice cape. You know, we just hang this one up and we put it in our cloth rack. All right, let's move on to, you want to try a dress?
Sure.
Let's move on to another piece that has the soutache applique on it. Soutache. Oh my goodness, I'm using those words interchangeably.
You want to bring it up to the other side?
We'll bring it up. We're gonna do some musical chairs and shift these
Okay, I'm
things.
gonna put you back on the cover table.
In keeping with the chronological order, we also have a dress from the early 1900s. It is a floor-length dress. Even though we're going to fold it underneath, but it's a beautiful wine color. And we'll zoom in for just a second. Yes.
Well,
Oh. Once you get closer, it starts going very fast.
Beautiful.
Isn't this lovely?
I'm gonna zoom out a little bit.
Mm.
For a smaller woman.
All right, there we go. Thank you, Rebecca.
Sit on under.
So this is another example of the soutache. All along here, and then of course
I'm finding it.
through here.
there you
Is there any is that about as far as we
I
can
can
zoom
go
it?
in further.
Well, is there any way to focus on the sleeve here?
Yeah.
So we're gonna look at the sleeve because to me, this gives a better idea of how it would have been sewn. As far, the applique itself sewn onto the garment,
Mhm.
because this braiding is a little bit different. But
So the braiding was done and then sewn on, is that right?
exactly. So they'd have to
Okay.
sew it and then figure out what design. But
Wow.
we also have
Wow.
that work in the sleeve as well as up the arm, and then of course around the chest area around the collar. Now, when it comes to early 1900s, women's clothing is already starting to change a little bit. This one is a floor length gown, but hemlines are starting to recede. So you're really not wearing bustles or having long trains anymore with clothing. You're starting to have a simpler cut of everyday dress, even albeit a very nice one, but you're not really having trains. The gown is going to hit right at the shoe level. If not, or maybe just straight, just a little bit behind.
I have an idea about the lace.
But the idea is women are getting, styles are changing. Women are outside more. They're doing more outdoor activities. They're moving around a little bit more. And so, sorry, we're messing with the lights. With the
Really?
concept of you're no longer in Edwardian fashion with like the S curve with the high corseted, the boning in dresses. You're still going to see a little bit of that, but you're not going to see it as much. The Victorian era were the large hoop skirts. That's what we think of as antebellum. And then by the time you get to the Edwardian, you start getting into those big corsets, bustles, trains, yards of fabric. Can we zoom out, please?
All the way?
Yes.
It's difficult to see the light.
And stuff.
How long is the dress? I mean, it looks like for a short person.
This one we folded, but it's actually on the longer side.
Okay,
Yep. So it is floor length,
okay,
but
thank
you
you.
can tell. Sure.
Looks like about a 20-inch waist too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it would have been fitted because women were still they were still wearing a corset like, but it's just not as hardcore. This one is almost like an A line. It just kind of flares out a little bit. They would have worn an undergarment, a slip, as well as simpler corset.
So if you had a woman who was probably about 5'3" or so, this would hit just above the tip of her
I
shoe.
think so, because I think I've held it to how tall I am, and I'm like 5'4". I think it'd be something comparable. Now, when it comes to shoes, we brought these boots because women's shoes from that late 1800s to early 1900s haven't changed all that much. Women are still wearing a taller boot. They're still lacing them up. So you can see we've actually undone these laces. Very narrow foot. You can see.
Do you know the song, These Boots Are Made for Walking?
I do. These would have been good boots. I actually like these boots. All heel. And they would have worn these.
I'll walk all over you.
Is that fabric on the top
It is fabric.
Okay,
and leather bottom?
We have leather through here. You can see that. And then
Fabric.
Almost representing a stocking or something like that.
kind of,
Looks
yep,
like it, yeah.
a nice fitting boot, tight through the ankle, up through a little bit of that thigh area. And then I don't know if we want to zoom in again, Rebecca, we'll see. We'll look at some of the nails and the sole part. And we learned that this heel is a type of, this has a name to it. There's a name attached to this type of heel. It's known as a spool heel, like a sewing spool, like a thread spool.
Cool. Heel.
I can see that it would be.
Yeah, it's got the indentation like a spool.
It does, just like the spool. And so,
Yeah.
oh no, that's fine.
Huh.
But you can see some nails.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Very nice, very well done.
I thought these were actually in pretty good condition.
Mhm. They are.
What do you think, Caleb? I'm doing all the talking, Caleb.
You have
Step-
most of the information.
Step-
I've got,
No,
I don't have a whole lot to
we've
add on.
talked about it. We've talked about stuff. I had to give them the rundown for women's clothing.
Yeah.
Okay, we can zoom back out, please.
Caleb, if you were a shoe salesman, how would you describe those to a buyer?
Oh,
That is a perfect question.
talking to the person who, once his one pairs of shoes runs out, I go and find the exact same pair of shoes to go buy. So I don't have to think about them.
Are you a Doc Martens guy?
Are you Doc Martens guy?
No, I have Pumas and then I wear sandals whenever I'm being lazy. That's about it.
I wear flats for the most part.
Be the latest fashion for the I say the lady who wants to stand out in society.
Ooh.
Yeah.
There you
Touche.
go.
And stand out. That's good.
See, there you go,
There's a
Caleb.
reason I'm not in sales.
Take it from Steve.
I'm not in sales either. Okay, I'm not a salesman.
Better at it than I am.
I hate sell. I would hate to be a salesman.
Here are some black boots.
I would be like, you probably don't need these. You don't need to spend your money on that. It's fine. I'd talk
They're
them
very
out.
impractical. They're very impractical.
Yeah,
get some
they don't
down.
look comfortable at all.
Here's a pair of army boots.
Well-
Yeah.
Yeah. And even though they do have a small heel, they're not, I do not envision them to be comfortable because
Mhm.
Caleb and I have looked and you can't really tell, but there is zero cushion.
Right. But that's kind of the
Easily.
way it was during that time frame. They didn't really do anything. They just
Exactly.
took the leather and made it. And then even with other shoes, that was the same way.
It was. So there's
Yeah.
there's no cushion. There's very little lining on the inside.
And
So it had
then
to
they
be-
probably had to walk on cobblestone.
Right.
I bet they
Mhm.
did.
Yeah.
First, he's gonna talk about
I'm thinking about mud streets.
Probably the only cushion they had would be the stockings.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah,
true.
Because most of
Yeah.
them are made out of wool, so it would be very thick, and especially
Right.
the way that the shoe's made is for colder weather. So this probably was someone who was either Missouri or a bit more north. But yeah, definitely if you had like the wool or if you had any of the other like thicker made stockings,
Right.
that would be a little bit of the cushion, but we're used to the
Right. Yeah.
that we have now in
Yeah.
our shoes. But we also don't wear as thick of socks as they used to.
That's true. That makes sense
Yeah.
too.
Probably wool would be better because it doesn't compress like cotton does.
Mhm.
It gives you a little bit more cushion. So plus if it gets wet, it dries out very fast.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm a fan of
Cotton
wool.
just stays wet all the time.
I'm a fan. I like wool. I like
Yeah.
wool blends. Most of my coats and jackets are a wool blend because I'm always cold. I like wool.
Wear wool when I go hiking.
Lee, when
Mhm.
you say,
Yeah.
Lee, when you say wool blend, it would be wool blended with what?
I'm not quite sure. I don't know if it would be cotton or even just maybe nylon.
Usually in modern day yarn, it's with some kind
Oh,
of,
I don't know at the time.
or like man-made fiber.
Mhm.
You don't see a lot of wool cotton blend unless you're specifically looking for that looking
Then I don't
yarn
know.
and stuff.
Now, if you're in Ireland, they will do silk and wool blends.
That's
Right,
one
yeah.
of the fancier yarns,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, just won some of that at Knitting Guild.
Ooh.
Nice.
I remember from the Boy Scouts when, particularly the beginning, they always say buy wool socks. When they had to get your outfit together, wool socks. Because that was the best thing for hiking.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, so as we move on into the early 1900s, we're going to jump forward just a bit to World War II era because women's clothing, and I'm sure y'all probably seen this, we've seen images, it continues to change. Women, they're no longer wearing the several underlayers, the undergarments, and especially by World War II, for the simple fact that fabric, there's a shortage of it. When you are making clothing, whether a person is making it at home or they're purchasing it, even when it comes to military uniforms, the goal is to get every bit of fabric used. You don't want to waste fabric. So when
Right.
it comes to women's clothing, we have a World War II uniform, women's uniform here, a summer dress. The fabric's a little bit on the thinner side. They are using like nylon, rayon, so that those synthetic fibers are becoming more popular. But not only that, your cut, you start seeing a lot of shirt dresses. You don't really see pleating anymore. Pleating is kind of out the window. You don't see a lot of full skirts either. It's a very simple A-line that way, because that's the simplest design to cut from bolts of fabric without wasting that fabric. So you're not seeing a lot of detailing in the garments. And even though this is a woman's uniform, it still shows that silhouette of what women were wearing, because they needed to be able to move even more, move around from day to day, depending on whether they're working and then they're going home or vice versa. The hemlines are still on the, they got a little bit shorter. This one's going to hit about mid thigh, maybe right below the knee, calf, thank you. And this one here was actually worn by the lady who donated it. It's from the Eagle family. And Caleb, you want to talk about this one right here? We've got a patch. Yes,
Yeah, that'd
please.
be great. Yeah, so this is a patch that was given to, once we can zoom in a little bit more on it, to those who served in the Pacific Theater. And each little bit is kind of has symbolism to it. So the blue for the wide ranging waters, because you're talking a huge theater
Right.
from Alaska to New Zealand, basically. The red arrow is just kind of a forward and onward kind of motivational thing. And then the stars, you have 3 different constellations. So you have the North Star, the Southern Cross, and the Big Dipper, which are all super important navigational, what am I word looking for?
Like beacons.
Yeah, beacons when you're traveling. But at the same time, you also have significance in the numbers of it.
Oh, yeah.
So there are 4 stars here, 1 here, and 7 on this one. So when you add all those together, you get 12. And then you have the 7 here, so 12, 7, 4, 1, which is the date. So December 7th,
That's
1941
right. Yep.
is
I
that
Oh,
I
date
totally
of Pearl
forgot
Harbor.
about that.
So it has
Yep.
all of that into it. And so that's
Wow.
why that was chosen for those who served Pacific.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of that from one patch,
Yep.
sewn on one shoulder of a dress.
Go, Caleb.
Good job,
So-
Caleb.
Lisa made the article.
so were patches hand done? Are they hand sewn? back then?
Yes.
Yes, I believe so at this time.
Now this uniform would have had a belt, which for the belt is missing, and there would have been a gold button, obviously right down the front, but we are missing those. But if you get grab one shoulder,
Yep.
you can kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost, well, is button all the way down the front?
Just to about the waist.
Okay, so it's almost like a coverall type of setting. They could
Shirt-
just, they
shirt
could
waist.
basically just take it and
Oh.
drop it over the top,
Absolutely.
do a couple buttons and you're done. Yeah.
We still have some epaulets here.
Mhm.
And we've got our sleeve here. And then I'm trying to think, we've got some manufacturing information.
Mhm.
Is there a way you can zoom in on this, please?
Sure.
Yeah, we're pretty sure that these would have come standard made, but then they would have come with the means to tailor them themselves. Because we'll look down at the skirt eventually, and you can see where they've made alterations to help it fit it.
Does it have a manufacturer?
It does.
Yes, it's.
What does the
Smart-
label say?
Or Bernard Apple Incorporated
Okay,
in Boston.
okay.
And then her name, Dorothy H. Eagle,
Mhm.
is right here.
Sweet.
Right over the manufacturer tag.
Well, they did that because that's for laundering.
Oh, okay.
You know, every soldier has to have his name in his uniform. So when it goes out to launder, it comes back same person.
Mhm. Okay,
All look the same.
makes sense.
And
Like
then
we used to do when we went to camp.
Yep.
Caleb mentioned the hemline, as far as if these are mass produced, people would have
Right.
to tailor them, but very.
Yeah.
easy. So they could.
That'd be the most economical for the manufacturer.
Mhm.
Well, and we noticed that lighting wise, this one here it's sewn by a manufacturing like industrial sewing machine
Right,
right here, because it's a very nice stitch, very clean, very straight. But this one here has been hand.
right, yeah.
It's a little uneven. It maybe snags just a little bit in here. And so you can see where they've gone in and they've folded it
Mhm.
underneath and stitched it. I still can't sew. And it's impressive.
It's interesting that the seams are not open, that they're folded to one side. The internal seams of the skirt.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm kind
Yeah.
Probably for strength.
Someone who knows what.
I know what she means. I don't have on gloves. What she's saying is they've been pressed open, but some of them haven't been
Oh.
pressed. Like this, well, normally when you sew, you'll open it up and sew it, press
Right.
it down so that way it lays nice and flat. And so you'll see some of them aren't, but it looks like it may have just been from how it was stored,
it could have been.
Ah,
because the ones where it's not kind of folded on itself are flat. There you go.
thank you.
All
Oh,
right.
look at that.
My mom taught me to sew a little when I was a kid.
It's like more than a little.
There we have it on that.
It has served you well.
It's a skill set I wish I would have learned.
It's rayon or wool. Or,
It's thin though.
So,
Thin.
again, this is considered a summer dress.
Oh,
Just because, again, we've got a blend of some synthetic, I want to say it's rayon. It's either rayon or nylon with this one. And then they would have worn a very simple shoe, maybe something comparable to this one over here.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Stockings, pantyhose. You still have a little bit of a spool heel laced up. I think it's actually very similar from this. It's just it's not a boot. It's
Mhm.
cut off at the waist, at the ankle.
I thought they were.
Well, this one is going to be a little bit earlier. Like that one is going to be into the 1910s, the 20s. And so this one's pretty cool because you can see that the work, clearly the shoe's been worn. We also have a little bit of a metal bottom, which I don't know if that would have been used if these had been
The exposed nail from
the exposed now. Which we can zoom in.
Wonder if it was replaced. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, it's a wear rivet or something like
Yeah.
that. So it doesn't wear down as fast.
Okay.
I have,
Because leather will wear very fast. And they wanted to make sure it would stay as much as possible. So they put sometimes I've seen it in the past. They put a metal nail or something in there to give you a better wear pattern.
I have something like the modern day equivalent of that on my cowboy boots.
Mhm.
Yeah.
To wear leather.
Yeah.
To wear they're leather, and
Right.
they protect when it's on the toe and the heel of mine, so that they
Right,
protect
yeah.
from scratching it up.
Yeah. So that would be a heel protector in this type of.
Yeah.
Looks like it has more cushioning.
Thank you, Don. I forgot the terminology.
Not by much.
Okay. It was just wishful thinking.
Wishful thinking.
Yeah.
There's still not much padding.
No. Even in the men's boots at that time, there was not much padding. No, they didn't have the Reeboks that we have today in military.
Dr. Souls.
I like this style of
Yeah.
shirt dress. I love shirt dresses. I'm a fan of the A-line. I think it's a great silhouette for women. Clearly, we kept it because there's different versions still today.
True.
So I have a question. You said it's either a rayon or a nylon blend. What's it
Uh-huh.
blended with?
I don't
Fine.
know. The only thing that was in our database, I think, was those were the two words. I don't remember anything else.
Mhm.
What it would even be as far as what would be a common synthetic other than those two.
Mhm.
The only way to do it is kind of take a little snip from a seam on the inside and have it analyzed.
Okay.
You know, just a little sliver off of it, and I'm sure they could analyze it, find out.
And it doesn't say on the tag either, or I can't read it. You know, because nowadays you can read on the back of your tag what it is.
Did they have to tell you back then what was in your clothes? I feel like now, like.
I don't know.
That's
Yeah.
a good question.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know if they had to tell you back then or not. That's a modern day thing.
I agree. I would very much.
Not you.
Like even with food cans,
Mhm.
food, it's a very modern thing comparatively. You know, they didn't really have to tell you the ingredients of what was in it for a long time.
Well, back at the turn of the century, everything was pretty pure. They didn't have a lot of
Yeah.
words that were 17 letters long to put in food.
That's true.
The only thing, you know, they put a law out where the title had the first word in the title had to give you the most content,
Mm.
except for one item,
Water?
pork and beans.
Oh, this is pork.
Pork and beans. It's mostly beans and pork. But pork and bean was such a standard at that time. It was like Kleenex that they gave it a grandfather and allowed it to just be pork and beans.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a nice piece of food trivia right there. And also good marketing because clearly it's stuff.
Because it make it a little bit easier. Pork and beans is easier to say than beans and pork.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Pork and beans.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Still holds true.
Mhm.
Where are those boots from?
These?
Ooh, yeah, we can talk about those.
Please.
Circa 1930s, they're women's boots, but we
Mhm.
also discovered that they would have been like riding boots, like either roping or work boots, just
Mhm.
by the shape of the heel.
The heel. Yeah.
The heel.
Yeah.
It's a riding.
I had to learn about that. Another person kind of hinted at that, and I go, oh, did not know that.
Yeah, it's like the boots I have. I tried a flat heel and I couldn't do it, so I have to go back to riding heel.
Yeah.
So I have riding heels on my boots.
Nice.
So,
Yeah.
so what you can tell through these, because it doesn't have a lip, like this doesn't stick out as far, so you know that they didn't really wear spurs. So it was more
Oh.
of like a boot that they would either do some roping, but most ropers do actually have spurs on their boots.
Okay.
But there are a few here and there that don't actually spur their horses, but these would probably be more of like their showpiece boots that they would wear when they would go to show or whenever they were going to be in a competition, because it has this very nice, elaborate person on it that has a bucking horse. But yeah, so it's like they would have used these for everyday, if you can, yeah. They would have used these for everyday type walking, but they probably would have saved them for a few like special occasions. But also it's like I was saying, there's not really a big lip to where the
Right.
spur would actually sit on it. Because that's what you normally use would be that hook that's on the hill. And then you'd have that strap that keeps it right there for the spur.
Well, because it's probably a barrel racer
Oh,
because they don't use spurs on their horses. Barrel
Right.
racers.
Could we see the front, please?
Oh, yeah.
now what about the square toe?
Square toe is very,
I
very,
like it.
very popular. That's what I have is square toes. Now that's a semi-square toe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, it's not a real square toe.
Even
They have
in
big
compared to
ones.
women's, as far as it just being a smaller shoe size, like a smaller foot, is that still considered a small square toe?
Yes, yes.
Now, the square toe, I mean, not counting aesthetics, but is there a purpose to the square toe
If
as
you have a
opposed to
wider
more of an
foot.
almond?
It's
A little bit
healthier
wider
for
foot.
foot.
It helps your toes. It doesn't squeeze them as much.
Okay.
Yep.
I can't wear standard cowboy boot anymore because it squeezes my foot in too much.
Mhm.
But
Our
a square toe allows it, to your feet, your toes to kind of spread out a little bit, make it a lot more comfortable.
That makes sense. Do cowboy boots typically run more narrow? Kirsty, do you know? You wear cowboy boots.
Most of them.
They
yeah.
just generally.
It,
Is there a label inside?
There is one, and it'll tell you where it's from.
Please.
Tell it,
On
Kirsty.
this one or is it from-
There's one on this one.
Oh, here we go.
Where are
This
they
is
from?
Olson Stelzer, Henrietta, Texas.
I'm
Ah.
unfamiliar with this
was
boot.
a custom boot maker.
Yeah.
Oh,
I lived
Custom
in
boot maker,
Henrietta for a
yeah.
long time.
Did you know that company, Janine?
No, I was young, very young.
That's a great
I've-
pair of boots, even has a heart on it.
No, I like the heart on the front.
I do too, Myra.
I've had two pair of custom boots. One was one was semi-custom. It was a company that made it to order for you
Okay.
out of Kansas, Olathe, Kansas. And the one I currently have was actually made by a bootmaker in the colony.
Well, aren't you
Okay.
fancy, Steve?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
I just got to go in, got to know him. We became friends. So he made the boots for me.
Okay, they were
So-
made for walking.
Yeah,
Mhm.
They are stylish, aren't they?
They are. I got some nice ostrich ones that I have that have a little bit wider that I wear whenever I go
yeah.
out. But I do have to have the wider because I have unfortunately wide feet for a woman.
I don't know.
so-
Do you?
I do. Yes.
Really? Oh,
So
wow.
it's like this one would be a little
skinny.
cramped for my feet.
Skinny.
The toughest ones I ever had were caribou.
Okay.
Their leather is extremely durable.
Really?
yeah.
Yeah, you can work with them and it doesn't fall apart or anything, doesn't deteriorate. It's just very durable, and it's not as expensive as some of the others that are tough. It's really good pair of boots.
Like there's a lot of pros to caribou shoes.
Yep.
Hey,
Caribou.
We've got boots
Our boots,
also.
Do you have some items from the 70s, did you say?
We've got one dress and it's the last one. So we're going to jump from World War II to 1970s ish and go really short with the dress.
Ooh.
I know.
I'm sorry for to get you distracted. You can tell I like boots and shoes and things like that. Anything leather, that I like that because that's what I work with, is leather.
So do you.
Absolutely.
Okay. So
Oh, absolutely.
this one's early, circa 1970s. It was worn by a woman who, in our database, it shows that she made it because she wore it on her honeymoon.
Huh?
It has bloomers.
Uh-huh.
Oh, my word.
Looks like a skater's outfit.
Well, and it's called a sizzler style.
Good
Oh,
Lord. That's a shirt.
Yeah, really.
Well, it
She should
definitely
work at Whataburger.
in our cloth rack stands out because
Good, Myra.
the bright orange and it is very short, and I thought it was a girl's dress, and it wasn't. It was a young woman's dress who just got married, but you can tell she wasn't very big.
yeah.
I think it's very cute.
That was fashion.
The little puff sleeve here.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
love the
Her
button.
grandmother was probably rolling over in her grave.
Maybe.
Grandmother wasn't on her honeymoon though, so it's all good.
For all we know, she didn't tell anybody she packed this. She just went and it's very small. It can fit in a suitcase. And she's wearing bloomers, but I'm assuming in the 70s, like you would still wear pantyhose, correct? Like
I'm
with,
afraid so.
you would have
Depends.
your undergarments and you would wear pants like
Um,
No,
Mhm. Yes.
we just wear a short dress.
Just wear a short dress.
Depends on where you're from. Yeah.
yes, that's what I'm saying, like go-go boots or something.
That'd be a
She
look.
would have been styling. I thought she had good hair.
Styling and profiling.
Yeah. So, I mean, to me, the color itself stands out. Well, it stands out in our cloth racks because we have several pieces hanging, right? It's a bright orange. So you can tell like why I went towards it because it's very bright. And
So
you
is
would be
it-
able to find her.
Does it look
Yeah.
And so,
Well, see, the bummer thing is it has like a small tag. And so I don't know if she like changed it up a bit. Let's look at this. I mean,
let's look.
all right, Rebecca.
All look together.
Yes. Chrissy, you're more than welcome to come over here too.
Says
Tell me what you think.
machine something.
It looks like someone like
Did they add or
she hemmed
subtract?
it. Someone hemmed it because that's not. It's not a finish. It's yeah. So it looks like it may have been.
Well, and that does that look, that's not a perfect line. I mean, that one is kind
Right,
of.
I say it's pretty imperfect for machine gun.
So
But
did she make it extra short on purpose?
she may have hemmed it.
She probably made it short and then made the pants out of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she cut it off and made the bloomers.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's smart.
Could have done that.
And yes, my memories of the 70s were that they would have worn this like going out to a club or something.
Yeah.
Oh no, I think it's very cute.
Not a Sunday church dress. Is what you're saying?
Are you sure? Not a Sunday
No,
church dress?
no, wouldn't be a church dress. No.
It was long when it was a
Mini
church dress.
skirt.
Now it's not a church dress.
Yeah, mini skirts.
I love it.
It's cute though.
That's why I say your grandma would probably,
It
her
would be
grandma
too
would probably
short
turn
for
over
a
in a
church.
grave.
If it were just a few inches longer, just
Yeah.
a few inches.
It would be.
Super cute. What a fun dress.
Wonderful with them short like that.
It could have been, Myra said Whataburger, it could have been Southwest Airlines. I think they used orange
Oh, yeah.
That's
for a
true.
while too.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I remember.
Also,
Yeah.
you said that she wore it on her honeymoon, so it may be shorter than what she would have worn regularly.
Got it. That she would have just made it a little bit more fun, which I've not really heard of the term sizzler dress. I hear skater dresses, but skater dresses in my, currently aren't this short, but they do have just a fitted silhouette, and then they are, kind of like a swing dress, but it's much shorter. But you see that in young people's styles.
What is it made out of? Cotton?
I heard that little thing, young people stop, I kind of heard that. Yeah.
Catch that,
Okay.
Steve.
Sorry.
Catch that.
Sorry.
I think it was just the fashion color at the time.
Yeah, it was. Orange was
Awesome.
part of
Yeah.
the fashion. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
I-
when
There was a
we
lot.
had
parents
orange
loved
wallpaper in
70s.
our house.
Whether
The
real or
70s.
Okay, so when you Google sizzler dress,
We're
they're all
Googling.
that short.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, pull let pull it up. So on
Well,
screen.
I can.
You want to zoom in? We're okay. Sizzler dresses. She's gonna zoom in.
Why don't I just? I don't know how to share our screen. So
I'll go over to the computer.
yeah, if you just Google.
Tip it.
How's it spelled? The regular sizzler?
Go over to the camera.
We're gonna get the correction, like where it's.
Okay. We I had to try it.
Okay.
Okay, we can
see
see
it.
them.
Oh, and it's gonna.
Ah,
It's a different phone here. Listen,
Hey, I have an Android too. Okay.
Kirsty and I have iPhones. Caleb doesn't.
So you can see, they're all kind of short.
Yeah, I see it.
I
I
hope
got
they have
some
on
here.
bloomers too.
Those are some short dresses, people.
Yeah.
1970s.
That was the style. Come on, don't be so upset about it.
That's a bit short.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
fashion.
I have never
It-
seen me wear anything that would ever be considered kind of outside of the very appropriate norm.
I'm wearing a t-shirt. I'm wearing a
That
long
is
sleeve
like-
t-shirt. That's about as casual as I
That
get.
is pretty, yeah.
The person that reminds me most of this is Jane Fonda.
Absolutely.
She
Probably,
wore
yeah.
these a lot. Yeah.
You can pull it off.
It kind of reminds me when I was a kid, I used to watch Laugh-In.
I don't know what last.
Yeah. Yeah. Laughing.
Laughing, yeah, laughing.
I used to watch on Nick at Night.
Oh, no.
It was like a, it was repeated, like it wasn't like modern.
Like just syndicate.
But I loved it. I loved the clothes. I thought it was so funny.
You must look it up on YouTube.
Okay.
Yes.
I
Yes.
will.
Yeah.
I will take
Look-
those suggestions.
Look up Goldie
Yes.
Hawn
Goldie Hawn, yes.
on
It was
Laugh-In.
like,
Oh,
a young thing. She was, yeah.
Okay.
Sock it to me, girl.
Sock it to me.
We're speaking a whole different language here.
Ruth Buzzy.
Ruth Buzzy,
Oh.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Well, see,
One-
I don't know if y'all, like my mom, we were talking about this, you know, they're wearing dresses, but they're also wearing pantsuits, right?
Mhm.
You're seeing a lot, you're seeing bell bottoms, you're seeing pantsuits, women are wearing jeans. Like my mom told me when she had to get to high school before she could wear jeans to school. I think you could wear pantsuits and you could wear dresses, but you couldn't wear jeans. You know, that came by the time when she was in high school that they finally kind of allowed women to wear jeans in school. But she wore dresses most of the time.
My mother tells about, she was a school teacher in North Dakota. She had to wear dresses at school to teach. But in the wintertime, she'd wear pants underneath and had to take them off when she got to school.
The preschool here at the museum, originally the teachers all wore like the dresses. They had to wear skirts or dresses, and they had to wear heels. And there's one teacher who eventually became a vice president who used to talk about how as soon as the parents left, she'd shut her door and kick off her shoes and teach her class. And then when pickup time came, she'd
Slip them back on.
Yeah,
And now everyone, she was, you know, in dress code, but she hated it. It was Colleen Blair.
I believe that.
Oh.
Yes, I understand. Yeah.
She wore shoes on her. I mean, she just, yeah.
I had a teacher that wore house shoes in the middle of the day in school. Same thing.
I went to a college that required you to wear dresses, and you could wear pants under the dresses only if it got less than 15 degrees.
You were too cold. Like where you're at is too cold for my blood.
Well,
Like,
yeah, my mother had that, but she had to take them off when she got to work. She could wear them to walk there as long as nobody really saw her.
Mm-hmm.
And then she had to take them off when she was there.
A woman wearing pants? That's scandalous.
I know.
It was scandalous.
Nowadays, my wife nowadays my wife can't wear dresses because of her feet. She's got some foot problems. She can't find a dress shoe that would fit a dress.
Lee, have we hijacked you?
Yeah, we have.
Yes.
I love this.
We do it all the time. We do it all the time. don't we?
I love hearing the stories. I learned so much.
Doing half our jobs for us.
Exactly.
Okay, what are you going to look up on YouTube?
We may have other people in the department who are a little jealous. They're like, well, can I come and talk with them about stuff? And we're like, no.
What era was the mini dress? Was it before? It was during the same time. Okay.
During the 70s.
There was some in the 60s too.
Yeah, that's why I was trying to figure out, was that the 60s or the 70s?
Both.
Lee, this is one of the reasons I asked to make sure you guys can continue with this, because it's so much fun.
Yes.
Oh,
It
yeah,
stimulates us. Yeah.
Well, and I should have remembered, but I was a slacker. I could have just brought pictures of my parents because I really love bell bottoms, and that man had some bell bottoms. He was like, "No, Leanne, they're not flares. It is a true bell bottom," and he thought he was hot stuff, and I love him for it because he's taller and he had dark hair like mine. But it was a little bit on the longer side. I don't know if you call it a shot. I have no idea, but he was slender and he was rocking those boots with the.
We'd love to see that. Please bring it.
I'll see what I can do. And my mom loved dressing. She just likes dressing up, but they liked the 70s.
Yeah, Lee, you and Caleb need to do a one on a 70s show. A 70s show.
As a 70s? Oh, okay.
There was a show called The 70s Shows. It was made in the 1990s.
Okay.
Oh.
What are you gonna wear?
Shoes.
Laser shoot suit.
Yeah.
Can you tell?
I had one of those.
Laser suit.
Yeah. You could wear that. I dare you to wear bell bottoms.
I'll wear Star Wars t-shirt.
Do what now, Chrissy?
One of the dads in the 70s show wears a leisure suit.
Yeah.
Leisure suit, yeah.
I think I
I
can.
had a
I'll
bright,
watch the 70s show and figure out
I had
something.
I had a bright green leisure suit with a floral shirt underneath of it. And
Ooh,
my,
I
my,
bet you
my
were hot.
pants were bell bottom, flares. They were not bell bottom.
Yeah, yeah.
And I looked like, my parents were embarrassed because they told me to pick out a suit, and that's the one I picked out. That was not my
They probably should have put some more like,
Stipulations.
stipulations around that suit if they had opinions.
That's probably why Myra married you.
That's right. I was with him when he bought it.
Well, if the lady approves, then there you go.
Yeah, but
All
we
good.
both knew it had upset his folks, so that was the score on it.
That was nice.
You know,
Oh.
I was stationed in England during the Twiggy area,
Wiggies. Yeah.
and I may have done a little research, but I don't ever remember bloomers with the mini skirts like that.
No, we didn't wear that, Phil.
just American.
Yep.
Like just the United States.
We kind of went our own way.
No, I mean, fine. Yeah. For all we know, she could have been very short.
Yeah.
Like very short.
No, 'cause you had to be
Like 5
really
foot.
short.
She could have been just like
I
this.
sort of want Lee to try. I
You
know
keep-
she can't.
you
'cause
keep
it's
telling
elected,
yourself
but I
that,
sort of
Lee.
want you to wear the dress.
I don't
Uh,
know if I could fit into that thing. I don't know. I think I could wear that one, but I have to wear shoes because I'm short. No, it's a bit short for me.
Well, you would wear it if it was fashion.
That's true.
And if you were in your late teens, early 20s, you definitely would have worn it.
See, and you're fashionable.
Well, thanks. No.
We're so busy.
I mean, I like the shirt dresses and I like A-line. I like my pencil skirts. I like my turtlenecks. I like my sweaters. Because I'm cold all the time. Except for when I go casual and I'm promoting the museum. And I'm wearing a museum t-shirt.
We thank you for what you've brought us today.
Yes, thank you very much.
It's so much fun with you guys. It really is.
Now, we've got one more before the end of the year.
Oh,
Do you
good.
know what you want to bring to us yet, or is that going to be a surprise?
Maybe a surprise. We'll bring a couple of coats just because we do have some nice. I'm thinking of like well, I don't know if they'll both be a fur coats, but we've got some nice pieces.
You guys have a reindeer coat.
We have a reindeer coat.
I'll bet you to it.
We won't bring it.
Yeah.
Okay, December 7th, we will see these folks again.
We'll,
Oh,
we'll
yeah.
definitely
That's
do
soon.
clothing. We'll definitely do clothing to round out the year. But we all hope you'll have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving next
Yes,
week.
thank
Thank
you.
you,
too.
Caleb and
Happy
Lee.
Thanksgiving to you.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, folks, let's take a look and see what's coming up tomorrow. I know some other folks need to get on with their day. If you want to hang out and see, you're welcome to.
Sure.
Okay, there we have coats. Everybody see coats?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Okay. Oh, Peggy
Oh.
Spear from the Amon Carter is bringing squashes
Give
tomorrow.
her a hard time.
I will.
We do.
I will. I sure will.
Handle it.
Yes. And then Thursday, we have Moving to Heal with Emily. And Friday, we have Sentimental Journey. So be there or be square for all of it, gang.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Sounds great.
Well, I
Yeah.
won't be here tomorrow because I'm going to be at the Meadows again.
Okay.
This is their monthly Meadows, their museum thing. So I'll be at the Meadows.
I have just written you down as Steve Gone.
And then, of course, I'm not here Thursdays. So,
Okay. And Nancy's skipped on out, didn't she?
yeah.
Bye, Nancy.
Yeah,
Bye,
bye,
Nancy.
Nancy. So Thursday, that'll be Steve and Phil gone. Okie dokie. Phil, I hope you have a great time with your infusion on Thursday.
Yes.
Yeah. The neat thing about it is I usually sleep through it.
Oh, that's good.
Good.
Good. How long time does it take for you to get it?
How long of a time does it take?
Well, from the time I get to the doctor's office until I get home is usually about 4 hours.
Oh, wow.
Long time.
And then you want to sleep.
The infusion itself has been taking about 2 hours.
Mhm.
Wow. Yeah, that's a long time.
I'm grateful for science that they can do that for you.
Yes.
Mhm.
Don, you started to say something?
I said, yes, I agreed with you.
Oh, yes. Okay. Well, Janine and John, it was great to see you here today. See your
Yes.
Picture anyhow.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you for sharing about your college days.
I really resented that dress policy.
I had the same one. I totally understand. We didn't even have a temperature thing, but we couldn't wear pants unless we were leaving campus and had to have a raincoat over it. We're really repressed.
Where did you grow up?
I went to Baylor's. That's where all that happened.
Oh, Baylor in
Yeah.
Texas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Baylor was pretty
Things have
repressed.
changed a little, Baylor. these days.
They have. They have. And I'm so jealous. But hey, I wouldn't want to be one of how many.
Yeah.
What state were you born in?
Tennessee,
Tennessee?
back where
Oh,
Nashville
word.
is. But I didn't live there long. I grew up in Mesquite and then went to Baylor in Waco.
Oh, you
Waco
did.
was really repressed.
Yeah.
Well, here it is almost 11:30. I better get off of y'all's Zoom.
Okay.
Y'all
Okay.
have a wonderful
right.
day. I'll
Thank
see
you.
y'all
You have a
tomorrow.
great day.